The doors to the courtroom closed for 6 straight hours, and when they finally opened, nothing was resolved. No deal. No handshake. No quiet ending. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni walked into a Manhattan courthouse, hoping to avoid a public courtroom war. They walked out with the battle still very much alive. And now, a May 18 trial date is staring them down. This wasn't just a routine legal meeting. This was their shot to end a feud that has already shaken Hollywood. A feud involving accusations, countersuits worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and even the unexpected mention of A-list names like Taylor Swift and Scarlett Johansson in unsealed documents. But instead of closure, Baldoni's own attorney called the settlement talks unsuccessful. That single word changed everything. Because once settlement fails, the gloves usually come off. Discovery deepens. Documents surface. Private messages can become public. And if this goes to trial, the industry won't just be watching. It will be dissecting every detail. These two once played love interests on screen. Now, they may face each other in open court. And what happened behind those closed courtroom doors might be just the beginning of something much bigger. They arrived separately. They left separately. And not a single word was spoken to the cameras. Early Wednesday morning, Blake Lively stepped out in an olive green suit, composed and focused, walking straight into the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Manhattan. Not long after, Justin Baldoni appeared in nearly the same shade, a trench coat in matching olive, flanked by his legal team and his wife, Emily. It was the first time the two had faced each other in court since this legal war began back in December 2024. And even before the hearing started, social media had already locked onto the symbolism. The matching colors, the separate entrances, the fact that Ryan Reynolds wasn't by Lively's side. Inside, the doors closed for what turned into a 6-hour, closed-door mediation overseen by U.S. Magistrate Judge Sarah L. Cave. No cameras, no leaks, just lawyers trying to hammer out a deal that could stop this from exploding into a full trial. But by 4 p.m., the mood had clearly shifted. They walked out without a settlement. Baldoni's attorney later confirmed the talks were unsuccessful, adding that while there's always a chance discussions could resume, he wasn't sure they would. He even said he's looking forward to the May 18th trial date, a statement that didn't go unnoticed. And that's when the tension became impossible to ignore, because mediation is usually where both sides test how much they're willing to risk. It's the last quiet off-ramp before everything becomes public record. The fact that neither side blinked suggests something deeper is at stake here. One detail that fueled even more online chatter: Baldoni left smiling beside his wife. Lively exited without Reynolds, keeping her expression neutral and her head forward. Fans immediately began reading into every frame. Was the smile confidence, strategy, or just optics? No one said a word, but the silence spoke volumes. And if that courtroom standoff felt intense, what Blake alleges happened. It didn't start with a courtroom appearance. It started with a complaint that sent shockwaves through the industry. In December 2024, Blake Lively filed what many described as a bombshell legal complaint against her. It ends with his co-star and director, Justin Baldoni. In it, she alleged sexual harassment and retaliation during and after the filming of the movie, claims Baldoni has firmly denied. But it wasn't just the nature of the accusations that stunned Hollywood. It was the scale. Lively is seeking at least $161 million in damages. That figure reportedly includes lost income, emotional distress, and long-term career harm. According to her filing, she believes she became the target of a calculated smear campaign tied to the film's release, a campaign she claims damaged her reputation at a critical moment. The timing raised eyebrows. Rumors of tension between the two had already surfaced months earlier during the August 2024 press tour. They rarely appeared together. Interviews felt awkward. Fans noticed the distance. Then came the lawsuit. Lively's complaint painted a picture of behind-the-scenes conflict that, if proven, could permanently reshape both of their careers. She alleged that actions taken during production crossed professional boundaries and that the fallout extended far beyond the set. It's important to note, these are allegations, and Baldoni has denied wrongdoing. But the impact of filing such a high-profile claim, especially involving a film centered around domestic violence, was immediate. Studios went quiet. Publicists went into overdrive. Online discourse exploded, and the number $161 million became its own headline. Because lawsuits of that size aren't symbolic. They're nuclear. But instead of backing down, Baldoni responded with something even bigger. If $161 million sounded explosive, what came next was on an entirely different level. Just weeks after Lively filed her lawsuit, Justin Baldoni fired back with a staggering $400 million countersuit, not only against Blake Lively, but also against her husband, Ryan Reynolds. The message was clear. He wasn't going quietly. In his filing, Baldoni denied the allegations and claimed he had been defamed. Reports at the time said he argued that the accusations had severely damaged his reputation, career prospects, and future earnings. The number, $400 million, immediately dominated headlines. It reframed the situation from a one-sided accusation into a full-scale legal war. Hollywood had officially split into camps. But then, in a twist that shifted the momentum, Judge Louis J. Lyman dismissed Baldoni's countersuit last summer. The dismissal didn't end the conflict, but it did narrow the battlefield. Suddenly, Lively's $161 million claim remained active, while Baldoni's massive counterattack was off the table. At least for now. That ruling changed the power dynamic. Still, Baldoni hasn't stopped pushing back. In November 2025, he attempted to have Lively's lawsuit dismissed entirely. That motion is still pending, leaving a major question mark hanging over the case as the May trial date approaches. So where does that leave things? On one side, a high-profile actress alleging serious misconduct and a reputational smear. On the other, a director insisting he's been falsely accused and financially devastated. Two careers, two radically different narratives. Hundreds of millions of dollars in dispute. And just when it seemed the legal battle couldn't get any more layered, newly unsealed documents introduced names no one expected to see. Just when the case seemed contained to two co-stars, a new twist pulled even bigger names into the spotlight. Recently unsealed court documents revealed that several major celebrities were mentioned in connection to the broader case, including Scarlett Johansson, Taylor Swift, and Johnny Depp. To be clear, none of them have been accused of wrongdoing in this matter. Their names reportedly surfaced in peripheral discussions tied to communications, industry relationships, or potential witness lists. But in Hollywood, even a mention can ignite a firestorm. The moment those documents became public, social media went into overdrive. Why were their names in there? What role, if any, could they play? Were they witnesses? Advisors? Referenced in private conversations? Online forums lit up with speculation. Some fans began theorizing about behind-the-scenes alliances. Others questioned whether industry power players were quietly influencing narratives during the film's release. It's important to stress that much of that chatter is unverified and driven by internet speculation, not confirmed fact. Still, perception matters. When globally recognized stars appear in legal filings, even in passing, it expands the scale of the story. What once looked like a dispute between two actors suddenly feels like something woven deeper into Hollywood's inner circles. And for viewers, that raises the stakes. Because if this case proceeds to trial, any reference communications, texts, or testimonies tied to those names could become public record, whether their involvement is minor or significant. The mere possibility keeps the industry watching closely. But long before court documents were unsealed, fans had already sensed something wasn't right. The warning signs showed up months earlier, on red carpets, in interviews, and in the silence between two co-stars who were supposed to be promoting a love story. Months before a single lawsuit was filed, the internet had already started whispering. In August 2024, as It Ends With Us hit its press tour circuit, fans began noticing something off. For a film built around intense romance and emotional chemistry, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were rarely seen side by side during promotional interviews. When they did appear in the same space, the energy felt noticeably restrained. There were no playful behind-the-scenes clips, no viral cast bonding moments. No glowing co-star praise that usually floods social media during a major release. Instead, interviews were conducted separately. Red carpet appearances were staggered, and eagle-eyed fans on TikTok and Reddit began compiling side-by-side clips, analyzing body language, tone shifts, even micro-expressions. Some viewers speculated there was creative tension. Others suggested scheduling conflicts. A few claimed the distance felt deliberate. At the time, nothing was confirmed. No statements were made. No public disagreements surfaced. But the silence itself became part of the narrative. Then came the shift. As the film premiered, online conversations started to turn. Comment sections filled with debates. Supporters lined up behind different sides. And when Lively later alleged that a smear campaign had unfolded during the movie's release, many fans went back to those August interviews and said, that's when it started. It's important to emphasize that much of this interpretation comes from fan speculation. Public appearances can be influenced by dozens of factors: contracts, PR strategy, personal preference. But in Hollywood, perception often moves faster than facts. And once those early red flags were noticed, they were impossible to unsee. What seemed like awkward press tour vibes would soon evolve into something far more serious. Something that neither side could quietly brush aside. Because by December, the whispers had turned into legal action. Any attempt to quietly settle it? That didn't go as planned. By the time both sides agreed to sit down for mediation, many insiders believed this was the moment it would quietly end. Settlement conferences aren't about drama. They're about damage control. Closed doors. Confidentielle discussion. One last opportunity to avoid months of public scrutiny. 6 hours inside that Manhattan courtroom, lawyers for Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni reportedly went back and forth, attempting to bridge a gap that now stretches into the hundreds of millions of dollars. A federal magistrate judge oversaw the discussions. The goal was simple: find common ground before May 18th forces this into open court. But when the doors opened, the outcome was anything but simple. No agreement, no joint statement, no visible sign of compromise. Baldoni's attorney later described the talks as unsuccessful, while acknowledging there's technically still a chance negotiations could resume. But he also admitted he doesn't know if they will. That uncertainty speaks volumes, because mediation is where both sides test their leverage. It's where numbers are floated, risks are calculated, and reputations are weighed against potential exposure. If neither side was willing to move enough to close the gap, it suggests something deeper than just money is at play. And here's where it gets serious. If this proceeds to trial, discovery becomes broader. Private communications could be scrutinized. Text messages, internal discussions, and behind-the-scenes exchanges might enter the public record. What has so far been argued through filings and press statements could unfold in front of courtroom and the media. That possibility alone changes the pressure. Trials are unpredictable. They're lengthy. They're emotionally draining. And they rarely leave reputations untouched. The failed settlement didn't just mean no deal. It signaled escalation. Now, instead of resolving things quietly, both sides appear prepared to let a judge, and potentially a jury, weigh the claims and denials in full view of the public. And if that happens, this won't just be another Hollywood lawsuit. It could become one of the most closely watched celebrity trials in recent years. If this really goes to trial, everything changes. Right now, most of what the public knows comes from filings, statements through lawyers, and carefully worded headlines. But a courtroom is different. It's slower, it's detailed, and it forces both sides to lay everything out under oath. That means testimony, cross-examinations, timelines picked apart minute by minute. If the May 18th date holds, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni won't just be defending their reputations in the court of public opinion. They'll be doing it in an actual courtroom where every word matters. And that's where the risk multiplies. For Lively, this is about proving her allegations and justifying a $161 million claim tied to alleged harassment and reputational damage. For Baldoni, it's about clearing his name after denying those accusations and watching his $400 million countersuit get dismissed. No matter the outcome, a trial guarantees exposure. Private messages could become public exhibits. Industry conversations might be dragged into the spotlight. Names already mentioned in documents could resurface in ways no one expects. Even if some of it ends up being procedural or minor, once it's on record, it lives forever. And Hollywood is watching. Studios pay attention to risk. Brands monitor controversy. Future casting decisions can shift based on perception alone. Trials don't just decide legal outcomes. They reshape careers. There's still a possibility that both sides strike a last-minute deal. It happens. Sometimes the pressure of an approaching trial forces movement behind the scenes. But if no agreement is reached, this could become one of the most talked-about celebrity courtroom battles in years. Two former co-stars. A film about complicated relationships. Allegations, denials, massive financial stakes. And a failed attempt to end it quietly. Now the question isn't whether tensions exist. The question is whether Hollywood is about to witness it all unfold in full public view.